Alright everyone, welcome back, and as always today we are going balls deep into my analysis for My Hero Academia's latest chapters regarding Endeavor's redemption. As I said, I have caught up to everything in the manga and I'm planning to cover My Hero Academia as much as possible on the channel. In this video I'm going to talk in particular on why Dobby is Toya Todoroki. So if you have any video suggestions or topics you want me to cover on the anime, make sure to let me know on Twitter, Instagram or the comment section. Honestly, I'm humbly asking you for help. I want to know what content you want, so if you smash that like button and give me topics, I know that I should continue talking about this series. So let's talk about what just happened in the latest chapters regarding Dobby's connection to the Todoroki family and how Endeavor just became the best boy. That's right, I've said it guys, god damn it, I honestly can't believe how much Endeavor has grown on me. I love the direction Horikoshi is taking his character. I always believed Endeavor to be a character that would have a perfect redemption story that we can all relate to and empathize with his character. So let me quickly explain Endeavor's story and how it connects to making Toya Todoroki becoming Dobby. Essentially, Endeavor was born with an amazing quirk called Hellflame that allowed him to quickly climb up to the ranks of the top 10 heroes with ease. After a while, he became the number 2 hero, and this didn't sit well with him at all due to his ambition, because as we all know, his motto was I wanna be the very best, no one ever was. Dun, dun, dun. Oh shit, that was cringe. Holy shit, cut the video. Anyway, in manga chapter 30, Shoto Todoroki said his father is a prideful and ambitious man driven by the goal to surpass the number 1 hero. Enji made a vow to topple the symbol of peace and All Might, who gained all the praise for what heroes do. But as we all know by now, this proved to be an impossible task because the one for all power. This is a task Enji realized he cannot complete himself, as All Might was an obstacle he could not surpass. In manga chapter 93, Endeavor, in his despair and hopelessness, he became aware that closing the gap between him and the symbol of peace was futile. This resulted in Endeavor creating a second best option to meet his goal. Enji decided that he wanted to create a child that would later become even more powerful than All Might. However, the main downside to Enji's quirk is that it raises his body temperature the more he uses it. He needed to counterbalance this drawback of his quirk. This is when he decided that he needed an ice quirk user in order to create someone that would inherit his will. Endeavor then married Ray, who had an ice related quirk. This was an arranged marriage supposedly, as Endeavor's influence of being the second greatest hero in the country was a big factor. So now that he had the ice element, Enji's future offsprings would gain the counter to his weakness. However, due to his goal being so important to him, Endeavor ended up being a cruel, abusive father and husband. His actions negatively affected all the members of the family he formed. This is something he deeply regrets and is trying to amend in the latest arc of My Hero Academia. Out of his 4 kids, Shoto Todoroki was deemed the perfect offspring, as he inherited both quirks with none of the downsides. Shoto's mother, Ray, was suffering from mental instability during these times, as the constant abuse that she received from her husband caused her to snap upon seeing Shoto's left side, which reminded her of Endeavor. This caused her to pour a kettle of boiling water over her son's face, burning him and giving a scar similar to Dobby. So this puts it into perspective of how much Endeavor was obsessed with his goal to surpass All Might. It was literally everything to him that would result in the abuse of his children. This includes Toya Todoroki, who may be Dobby. This is why Toya left the family and ran away. As a result, Shoto decided because of the pain Endeavor caused the family, he would never ever use the left side in combat, as a means of rejecting his father and showing him that he does not value him at all. But at the end of the day, we all know what happened next. Midoriya.
Of course!
Anyway, in the recent arcs, we see their relationship developing more. Endeavor has now taken on the mantle of being the number 1 hero, so this results in Endeavor self-reflecting on his actions, and he begins to understand the burden of being the symbol of peace that All Might had. He realizes the character and attitude he had before, it would not be acceptable upon a person with so much people looking up to him. He needs to be a role model. If he cannot be a role model or good father to his own son, how could he be this to millions and millions of people in the country? Endeavor wants to be in Shoto's life and help rebuild his family into being what it should have been. He regrets the actions of his past. Now, what My Hero Academia does great is that it's not saying ambition is wrong. Everyone has goals or dreams that they want to fulfill. What it's trying to say is, how do you go about getting these goals? Don't lose yourself to evil acts, because remember, his family still cares about him. According to the Todoroki family, Endeavor is likely to be one of the most ambitious people on the planet. Despite his pride getting the better of him in more situations than one, his pride is also what leads him to go straight to the top and not accept defeat. This is what is highlighted during Endeavor's fight with High-End, the Nomu that was so powerful. This freaking Nomu was stated that it would even give All Might trouble if he faced him. But thanks to Endeavor's willpower, he was able to defeat the Nomu, though he retained a permanent injury. This injury is a constant mark and symbol of his will to change for his family. He wants to fix things, a reminder of what he's willing to sacrifice to get them back. In my opinion, this is what makes a believable story that has layers of meaning to your audience, as we as human beings are not perfect ourselves. This is what causes us to attach heartstrings to a character that fans once despised for his actions in 2 seasons to actually start to care about his motive. The past 2 arcs of My Hero Academia keeps giving us context and reasoning to his decisions, and just how he self-reflects on his mistakes of the past. We all know that part of being human is making mistakes and learning from them to become a greater person. No one has never sinned or never caused pain to another person. This is part of the journey of life. So when the Endeavor realizes his mistakes in these recent chapters, he even admits in chapter 250 that since he's been at the top, he has changed perspective, and he is trying to save his son from a mummy, as his son left the dinner early as he still blamed him for Toya Todoroki's supposed death. Endeavor has shown that he will now do anything for his family. It's showing his growth, and when we witness growth in a character, it's amazing because it's a return in our investment of them. In this arc, Endeavor has started visiting his wife at the hospital revealed in chapter 187, and he has recently apologized to 3 of his 4 children. One of them has been missing, which is Toya Todoroki. The creator of My Hero Academia is setting up the reveal that Dobby is Toya Todoroki, and he is building character depth to Endeavor before he redeems his whole family. And as a writer, this is very important. For example, in chapter 250, it's fantastic development as Horikoshi is putting Endeavor's character in a moral dilemma. A moral dilemma is when a character has to choose if he wants to kill this villain or save his son that he wishes to redeem. If he chooses to kill the villain as the #1 hero, it only shows that Stain was correct about heroes. And guess what? Dobby's whole reason for joining the League of Villains was because of Stain, as he believes the concept of heroes is a bullshit. So if Dobby is Toya Todoroki and Endeavor does end up killing this mummy villain to save his son in chapter 250, it only proves the point that superhuman society is flawed, where the #1 hero doesn't even abide by the laws and is only willing to do good out of his own selfish gain. The creator of My Hero Academia is intertwining the whole story of the Todoroki family, so when the future is revealed that Dobby is indeed their brother, because this redemption arc of Endeavor will play a vital role on how the story will play out, and why Shoto Todoroki will end up being the protagonist against Dobby. Shoto's character needs a reason to defend his father, and this is what is being built up right now in this arc. He will believe in Endeavor's redemption regarding his self-reflection of his flaws, and why he wants to fix his mistakes. When writing a story, before the characters can face difficult moral decisions, we need to give them beliefs that matter. For example, Endeavor believes that he needs to fix his past mistakes and be a role model as the #1 hero, as with great power comes great responsibility. Endeavor, however, still suffers from pride and ego at the end of the day. Shoto has taken a cautious yet hopeful approach to his development of his father, shown in chapter 192, and also he says this in chapter 249 that he is still not sure about his father to his sister. So, to create an amazing character that has to face meaningful and difficult choices, you have to give them 2 equally strong convictions that can be placed in opposite directions to each other. This is exactly what Horikoshi has done with Endeavor's character, and that's why he's one of the best characters in my opinion. In my eyes, I wouldn't be surprised if Endeavor sacrifices everything to pay the deed of forgiveness of his past sins and saving his family. He has to choose to let go of being #1 and his ego, or choose to save his family, which includes Dobby. Setting this all up before Dobby is revealed to be Toya Todoroki not only pulls on our heartstrings and invests in the story, but that creates tension, and tension drives the story forward to read the next manga chapter every single week. For example, since Shoto and Natsu are still on the fence if they should believe in their father that he's trying to be good again, how else would you test Endeavor's new beliefs without throwing him in a dilemma like in chapter 250? You have to make sure the readers and the characters in the show are actually convinced for a reason, not because the plot desires it. At the end of the day, this is fantastic writing in My Hero Academia. So, I went kinda balls deep there, I'm sorry, but I got a bit passionate there. Make sure to smash that like button for me, guys, if you got this far in the video. Also, smash that notification bell because I'm definitely gonna cover My Hero Academia on a weekly basis for you guys. So with all of this crucial information out of the way, let me start explaining why Dabi could be Toya Todoroki. So in chapter 250, Fuyumi states that all the siblings got along with Toya Todoroki, and in particular Natsu did well with him before he supposedly died. We even briefly get a side glance of all the siblings and how they look like as kids, and through Shoto's perspective, we get to understand how he was treated special by his father when he was young. His father solely focused on him, so it was implied that the others were neglected, but Endeavor also mentions to Shoto that he is different from his older brothers, and he is a great masterpiece, implying that his brothers were failures in his eyes. This relates back to Dabi being Toya because Dabi ends up hating the hero system. If he is indeed their brother, that makes sense because his own father called him a failure, and he relied on the strength of a quirk to determine their value, right? So this is later foreshadowed in chapter 230 in his fight against Jiten. The political party run by Ridestro also believes in the quality of a quirk just like Endeavor in the past. Jiten says in the future that our army foresees one's rank in society will be directly tied to the strength of one's meta ability. Dabi responds to this fallacy by saying, "Sounds miserable, I'm going to need you to die," and the manga then reveals the flaw to his quirk as it burns his skin off in long fights. This connotes the very idea of why Endeavor thought he was not perfect like Shoto Todoroki, and consistent with his character if he is indeed Toya, his brother, as he absolutely hates the ideology his father also believed in. Toya Todoroki's quirk has already been revealed to us that it was a fire quirk, and it had more firepower than Endeavor's. However, Enji then says it had a flaw due to his wife's weak constitution. This connects with Dabi once again because obviously he has a fire quirk, but his flaw mentioned in chapter 230 is the weak constitution of burning himself if it's overused. This then explains why Dabi has his scars, because when we look at Endeavor's flames around his whole body, for example it covers his face, shoulders and arms, comparing it to Dabi, this is exactly where his scars are also located. This can't just be a coincidence because Toya Todoroki was also getting trained by Enji. This is where the supposed accident revealed in My Hero Academia could have taken place, where Natsu around chapter 192, he says Toya Todoroki is supposedly dead due to Endeavor's actions, and he blames him as to why he is not around anymore. Moving on, at the end of chapter 249, we see a family photo of Toya Todoroki when he was young. Comparing his face and features to Dabi's side by side, it's pretty clear that they are the same person. However, Dabi as an adult has scars and a different color hair to disguise himself whilst being a villain. I mean, Dabi must be Toya because in the school invasion, he immediately knew who Shoto was and named him. He even says, "Oh, how sad," in some translations to his supposed brother. This is because he's making light of the fact and poking fun out of Endeavor's favorite son and how he ended up with a scar on his eye just like Dabi has all over his body through the training. So it makes sense if Dabi was the failure child and now he's mocking the masterpiece of being slower than him to save Bakugo. Dabi also has the same eye color as Endeavor and his hairstyle looks similar to a younger version of him. We can also logically explain why Dabi has blue flames and how it would still make sense he is part of the Todoroki family. Now since we know My Hero Academia uses a lot of science to explain the quirks of humans with the series, look at Momo for example, so we can use science of combustion to explain Dabi's bright blue flame. So while Shoto's is red orange like Endeavor, this could be because a temperature difference, since Enji admitted Toya has more firepower than him. But we can also use a chemical reason to explain why he inherited his mother's constitution. Basically, Ray, their mother's power is to create ice. The most powerful freezing agent commonly used by chemists is liquid nitrogen. Now the freezing and liquid parts aren't what I'm focusing on, it's the nitrogen part. A compound of nitrogen and carbon is C4N2 and it burns a bright blue flame. If Dabi gets the fire vulnerability, he might also get his mum's nitrogen production, and this is also what causes his skin to fester and burn itself when he overuses uses it. So his fire is blue because of this mix-up, instead of orange like an oxygen or phosphorus based fire. Essentially, with my balls deep prediction magic, what's going to happen is that this theory is going to end up being true. Endeavor is going to gain his redemption of his 3 kids, but Toya will be left out, so his family will not be complete yet. So in the future of the anime, I believe Dobby will either fight Shoto or Endeavor, where it is revealed he is a Todoroki. Dobby will reveal his backstory, that he indeed did not die in a freak fire accident that his family thinks, but instead he turned into a life of crime to sustain himself, and then he joined the League of Villains as he saw Stain's speech. He ended up believing in the ideology, of course, because of his father's abuse and his thinking, right? Endeavor's past actions are catching up to him, and he has to face his sins to gain redemption. Endeavor will either sacrifice himself to make his family whole again, or they will save Dobby from dying in the war that is about to start in the manga. Shoto Todoroki will be the one that has to convince Dobby that everything is okay, because he relates to him the most, as he also received a scar and abuse, and he hated his father for what he did to their mother. So Shoto has to prove to Dobby that things have changed and there is no such concept of a masterpiece. Being a family and helping those in need that have lesser than them is what makes someone have value, making a difference in society and helping those in need. Basically, some speech no jutsu type shit Shoto is gonna do to Dobby, and he will redeem him and bring him back to the family, or one of these guys are gonna die. Anyway, that's everything of the theory so far, and you're all caught up now. If you want me to explain or cover any other My Hero Academia topics, please let me know in the comments for a shout out. I'll shout you out if you help me out on this. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram as I update on what I'm doing, and thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.